We're live. So welcome to our third Gamification Roundtable. This is an event organized by Games for Business with the aim of bringing experts together with providers and people from the enterprise side to discuss challenges and questions about gamification and share opinions by our professionals. Games for Business develops online simulation games and gamified solutions for HR and marketing purposes. And it's our goal to educate the market and all the involved parties to spread the word around gamification and to clarify some concepts and misconceptions about it. We invite representatives regularly for a Google Hangout discussion, and we provide a forum to share questions and also to ask questions and share opinions, which our viewers are invited to do on our gamificationroundtable.com website. All they have to do is use the hashtag gamificationroundtable, and their posts, the posted questions will appear in the feed, in the news feed. So I urge everybody to do that if they want to add or share a comment on anything. The title of today's conversation is Gamification in the Enterprise. We are taking a look at the practical side today. And we have 4 invited speakers. Let me introduce them to you. We have Anne Coppens here, who is a gamification design expert and the chief game changer at Gamification Nation. She is joining us from the UK. We have Rimon from Israel, who founded GamEffective in 2012 with the vision of bringing next generation gamification to enterprise applications. We have Mario Herger, who is the CEO, founder, and partner of Enterprise Gamification Consultancy, a strategic consulting group focused on gamification, innovation, social business, and entrepreneurship in the enterprise. And let me welcome also Mark Ratnavira, who is an experienced operations and recruitment professional with over 20 years of professional experience all across the world. And he has combined his experience for Alexander Mann in the Middle East. So these are our 4 guests. My name is Peter Filak. I am Business Development Director at Games for Business. I will be moderating this discussion. And also let me pass the word immediately to our guests to introduce themselves. Anne, can you start, please?
Yes, hi. Anne Coppens, as Peter explained. I'm the Chief Game Changer at Gamification Nation. The types of projects we tend to be working on are in the HR and learning and development field, and more into the employee engagement side of things as well. So we work closely with Games for Business on some projects and with other platform providers on the other side. So I hope that you have a great bunch of questions, and lovely to share my nuggets of experience.
Thank you, Anne. How about you, Ran? Sorry, yeah, sorry. Yeah, please continue.
I didn't know that we have somebody else. So hi, thank you, and my name is Gal, and I'm from GamEffective. I'm the founder and CEO. And we focus on enterprise gamification solutions, mainly for large enterprise, in the focus of employee engagement, and mainly in sales, customer service, e-learning, and collaboration. Currently, we have a lot of Fortune 500 customers, and we learn. I think that the thing that I will be happy to share today is a lot of pitfalls that we stumble upon and fell, and the way that we managed to succeed, maybe working on those problems, especially the leaderboards, points, badges, and all the things that creates bad reputation for gamification. And I think that now it's the time for gamification 2.0 or 3.0.
Thank you very much. Mario, can you introduce yourself, please, as well?
Yeah, my name is Mario. I'm the founder and partner of Enterprise Gamification. We are 4 partners, several gamification gurus, and we work a lot with large companies. Our focus is on employees third-party employees and customers. We also have a large wiki on all these examples that we are stumbling on, and wrote a series of books, including one for HR. And we work mainly really with large customers and help them internally and externally to gamify the experiences and not just look at it in an isolated way. That means one application that is gamified, but also look at what does it mean to gamify many processes and applications throughout the company. What other challenges come there, and where is the vision going for HR with all this data that is being generated on employees?
Thank you very much. Mark, how about you?
Yeah, hello, I'm Mark Renavira. Actually, I'm formerly of Alexander Mann. My background is in operations, primarily in the Middle East, Asia, and Africa. I've set up a consultancy here in the Middle East in Dubai, which is a very challenging environment from a gamification perspective. And I'm looking to talk to you as experts and discuss some of the challenges that we face here in this region with diverse workforces. And that's why I'm here, so I've got lots of questions.
Thank you very much, Mark. And that's why we are here, to discuss questions. And one of my first questions is actually about questions. I would be interested to learn what kind of questions do you most often come across when you meet existing or potential clients, when you have discussions with them? We have heard a lot that the US market is a little bit more advanced, and it has a lot more projects already that have been successful in the market. So maybe also Mario has a lot of experience in the US market. I wonder if there is differences between the various geographical areas in this respect. And I wanted to ask you, what kind of questions do you receive from your clients when you talk about gamification? And maybe at the end, Mark, you can add what kind of questions do you have in your mind, and then we can go and discuss those.
Okay.
So
Mario, how about you?
Me?
Mm-hmm.
Mario? Yeah, okay. So the difference between the US market and the European market is the questions that I get in the US are more positive, optimistic, while the questions in Europe are more on the pessimistic side. Yeah, I give you an example. Yeah, in the US, you hear basically, okay, so what can you do with that? Yeah, how can we use it? In Europe, one of the first questions is always, so isn't this unethical? We're manipulating the people. What about data privacy? What about these kind of things? Yeah. So in Europe, there's this mindset of you look first at the bad sides of things, yeah, and block yourself. But generally speaking, the problems or the challenges, the questions that they have are the same. A lot come in these initial phases from the HR and education area, where they want to engage the employees, where they want to train them better. They have made this experience that traditional methods of engaging them, of training their employees, is not bringing those results that they want, and they're looking for a variety of solutions. Now, regionally, they're always coming with this idea that it's really a game. Yeah, they have this three-dimensional shooting game or Angry Birds kind of thing in mind. So you have to manage a little bit the expectations and give them an overview of what are the things that are available, or point them to gamified systems that they are using today, such as LinkedIn or Amazon. And then they see that there's a larger bandwidth of what a gamified system can be, what games in the enterprise could be. Another thing, we always have starting a good discussion on what options they have, and then they typically are very interested and buy it.
Thank you. Gal, you work quite extensively also on the international market. How do you see this? What kind of questions do you come across?
First, I agree with the distinction that the US is much more, the demand is around 80% of our customers are in the US, and around 15 in Europe, and 5% are, the rest of the world. By the way, Australia recently started to the demand from Australia started to grow recently. And the question, at least I think that the questions are changing. If I look 1 year ago, then people were asking what is the difference between gamification and games. Today, we almost don't receive this type of questions. The questions are good questions about sustainability, about the what will happen after the first couple of months that you know that everybody would like to be in the game or in the gamification process. What will be after? And I think that this is the main question that we as the gamification community should address. How to and I think that this is the one single question that when I wake up in the morning and come into the office, we ask ourselves and our our customers. And I think that Mario is laughing because we are not going to sleep, almost never. So sustainability, I think that this is the main question, how to do it.
Thank you very much. Anne, do you agree with that?
Yes, absolutely. I've definitely had the longevity question as well. And I echo what Mario said. In Europe, we definitely have, my main market has been in Europe, or my main bunch of clients have been in Europe. I have steered clear of the US out of a strategic choice. I have plenty to do in Europe, I feel. So, but the question often comes up, what about the unions, the workers' councils? Do we need to engage them? Is this going to have an impact? Are we not measuring our people in such a way that it's manipulative? So I definitely have had those questions. One that I am getting more and more is, can you give me an example of something that you have worked on and the ROI of it in a similar scenario to ours? And often you don't have an exact match as in their industry and their particular problem. So you're looking for a related example. So more and more people are inquisitive. And I find still a lot of people in Europe are shopping for a game as opposed to gamification. And there's a whole education piece to be done yet. So, but it is changing. It is changing.
Thank you, Anne. Mark, how do you see this question from?
I got lots of questions from all of that. I mean, just in the Middle East region, and if we take the UAE as an example, there's a lot of curiosity, I suppose, and it's still stereotyped as games rather than gamification. I think that's the first challenge we've faced here. And the second thing is, if in America it's very positive, and Europe we've got a lot of legislation issues in Dubai or this region, it's how much and what's my ROI. That's the first two questions that you're going to get. And I think that's been the hardest thing to come up with. On an enterprise level, organizations here, the workforce, and this is the first question I get answered, is the language side of things. The workforce, the cultural mix is it's all over the world. 90% of the workforce here are not from the UAE. So these are the things that stop us from engaging. And I'd just like to know from that perspective, how have you encompassed dealing with enterprise clients? I mean, where do you engage typically? On, say, sales or HR?
I think we're looking
at perspective.
Sorry, Mark. I think we lost you for the last.
Yeah. So the challenge. I've got maybe I'll ask several questions in one. So let's just start reasonable. We have a diverse platform of a workforce here. The biggest thing that we get thrown back with when we talk about gamification is, first of all, how are you going to deal with the multi-languages? And let's just say, for example, we're doing a recruitment type solution. How are you going to address issues on a large scale, global scale?
Okay, so let me actually shoot this question immediately to Gal, since he's present in several countries, and he actually has been expressing his international viewpoint previously. How about you start addressing this question?
Thank you. I think it's a great question, and the first, answer is one size doesn't fit all. So, and we have a solution in a global call center spreading from Australia to Portland, in 15 different countries. The age range is between 18 in the Philippines and 65 in Portland, and different languages, different types of people, yet the metrics are the same. Everybody, we would like to improve the average handle time, the quality of process, the resolution rate, FCR, collaboration, e-learning, etc. And the way that we address, and I think we have 80% of success over in this process, and I'll tell also about a few of our mistakes, but the reason that I think that we succeed in this process and we improve in around 10% the quality of service and 6% the productivity is that we put different narratives in different countries. So, for example, in Bangalore, there was a cricket narrative, while in Portland it was baseball, and in Manila it was American Idol, and in Europe it was football, not soccer. I used to say soccer, but actually it's football. You play with your feet. And also the level of competition, there are places that the team is ahead of the individual. So the culture is very, very, very relevant. In Europe, for example, competition or contest is not such a great word to start the conversation with, especially with HR. While in the US it's okay, especially in the sales department. So you need to put different types of gamification designs in order to achieve the same goals in different places, different cultures. So again, one size doesn't fit all.
Thank you very much. Thank you. I'd be interested also to learn about some of the experience that you might have had with mistakes. And you want to add to that?
One mistake. Sorry. The big mistake is in one of the Asian countries, I will not say which, we thought that the engagement level was very high, but the performance didn't improve, and we didn't understand why. The people got into the system, they check what their performance is, etc. It looks like it is okay, but the needle didn't move up in the performance, and we didn't understand why. And we spoke with the managers, and again, we didn't understand why. And then we spoke with the center manager, and he explained us. He told us the managers told the people that this is important for the company. This is the Fortune 500 company. It's important for the company, and they comply. The culture was to comply to managers, unlike in many other cultures that we are more individual. We should understand why, and they comply, and that's it. So they knew that they need to log into our system twice a day, and they logged into our system twice a day, but it didn't affect anything in the performance. Okay, so we didn't understand the culture at this specific story.
Right. Thank you very much. Thanks for sharing. Anne, you want to go?
Yes. I mean, the multilingual question comes up a lot in Europe as well, because we have lots of hubs with small countries and small language groups. So, and in one case, we went with the company language as such, which was at the time English, although they were not in the UK. So they were a Swedish company, and they used English as their business language. Now everybody interacting was okay with English as a language. So, if that's the proven business language and already in use, I think that's an approach you can take. However, on another project where everybody in the project team is speaking through English, we are actually actively trying to do everything through visuals as opposed to explanations, because it's cross-European and it will spread probably wider than Europe. So we're trying to create stories with visuals as opposed to creating stories with lots of text attached. So the tutorials should be self-explanatory enough so that the visual will drive what we want them to do in the system. So that's one. It's a lot more work, I have to say, and from a brainstorming perspective, it's very funny what people come up with, but it can be a way around. So, and culturally, you know, always pay attention to the culture of the organization. I think Gal already mentioned it. A sales-driven organization is way more open to competition than, let's say, the softy, maybe more academic type of organization. So, and I would always want to spend a bit of time in a company to get a grip of that, and ask questions. Who are your people? What are they like? What do they like doing? Because I think that's even more important than language.
Great.
Yeah,
so true.
Do you ever need to address this question?
Sorry?
Oh, I was asking Mario. Mario, do you hear us? Can you hear us?
Yeah. I had a interruption
do you ever
before.
have to address this issue?
So what I didn't get. I have really internet connections troubles. So I'm just answering the question of what we had as problems and what we've seen. So two of them. One was a company that came to us after they experienced really troubles, and the trouble was that they had worked for 6 months. They were in Spain. They had worked for 6 months on a competitive gamification project for salespeople, and then they wanted to launch it, and then the Workers' Council said no. So they had 6 months of work, being not talking to them, not looking at the legal issues, and just basically the work for 6 months was wasted. In a German company, which is they are normally very well aware of the influence of the Workers' Council, there's still a lot. Even if you're aware of that, you still have a lot to work on that. So even when we come in and start with design, there are sensitivities that depend on the company culture. So sometimes the relationship between the Workers' Council and the management may be really bad and burned due to past experiences and whatever reasons. So sometimes the same design that you use in one company, you cannot use it in another company, even if they are similar, if they are same scenarios, just because of this relationship between Works Council and management, and the Works Council takes a much tougher stance in allow what they allow or not. Yeah, and they typically do not allow then a lot if this is a burnt relationship. So you have to be really aware of that, because this is one of the largest mistakes that you can do in European companies.
I see. Does that answer your question, Mark, a bit?
Yeah, loads of insight. The company language was the way we've been talking anyway, which tends to be English here. However, we also have to be sensitive to other languages as well. So yeah, brilliant. And the visuals thing is a great idea, and I appreciate that. That's a lot of work, but that's going to be fun. I do have one other question, Peter. I mean, I can come back later on that one.
Sure, go ahead.
Well, it's the million-dollar question, which Anne brought up earlier on, which was the ROI. Even with the research that's going, and it's a relatively new market here, those are the first questions you get asked straight away. The mentality is
ROI, right?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, and they rolled out enterprise systems, back office ERP solutions, etc. So they're measuring everything. And here we come along with this, this is going to give you value. So, Anne, please.
Yes, I mean, what I usually say is I'll give an example of their industry. I mean, just this week I spoke to a company with an IT self-service desk that they want to gamify, and They said, do you have an example of the same and an ROI? And I said, well, actually, I don't specifically that I have worked on, but I do have one of a finance service or finance department who implemented a gamified approach and got the requests that they had to get involved in down by 50% by having just a measuring technique. And that actually satisfied the guy inquiring on behalf of everyone. He said, okay, 50%, I can work with that. Because what they wanted to do was reduce the number of phone calls made to the IT service and have more and more people self-servicing for the basic things like a password change or update on a software, which really is not really core IT work for most IT businesses, and most people can automate that. So, and their system was well able to do it. So where possible, I either have examples of what I know that I've worked on, or I go look for examples that are sort of in the open sphere. Now, also, some of the statistics that are out there tend to be between 20 and 40% on the average lower side. And then if I go with some of the simulation, learning simulations that some of my connections have worked on, the results have been 100% or plus of an engagement and ROI factor. So, but they themselves would say, well, we're embarrassed to state that because it sounds way too good to be true. So, and then the other way around is to just, you know, have them do a prototype, have them do a test, a small test in a pilot, in a team, where you can prove that it can actually work without heavy investments. So, you know, if it's a full-out rollout of a system, you obviously want to be sure that they're going to go ahead with you. So you want to be 90% sure that people are implementing before you run a big pilot. But if you run a small, even offline pilot to see can it work, you're pretty sure that it can.
Thank you, Anne.
I mean, one of the funny things, Anne, when I want to talk about that is that one of the critical questions that always coming is, yeah, gamification, I think we need to do that, somehow this is this buzz, but I think it won't take long, and then we have 3 months is running, and then nobody will be interested in using that. This is a little bit about this longevity that Gal mentioned, yeah? So somehow you expect with gamification that you throw it out, you don't have to do anything anymore, and then it runs forever, yeah? And that's what the question. But everything else, like an advertising campaign, you're also not expecting that it's successful for 2 years, yeah? The same commercial running for 2 years. Or if you put out social media, that you just put it out and it's just running by itself. It requires an effort, freshness, updates, of course, yeah? And that's what you have to calculate in. So I don't know why people have this idea. Yeah.
Yes.
Right. Yeah. How about your experience?
So usually I try to answer the RI question in 2 parts. The first is the process, and the second is the performance or the actual impact. And we have an example of a very large industrial company with thousands of field sales engineers, and they started. They called us for the gamification process, and actually we found out that we managed to improve their learning engagement by 3 times, so times 3. And the impact was that they were able to improve the sales because they sold the new products before the competitors. So it's a 2-phase. You can't say that you improve the sales by 3 times because, you know, I wouldn't be this hangout, I would be in Ariba, you know, drinking cocktails, etc. but even if it would be in 5% or 10% but it would be sustainable because people will do the right things, then I think that this is the real ROI. So you must go first for the process and then for the performance. And I think that this is the big mistake of the Salesforce gamification leaderboard okay, we compete 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, maybe 2 months. The performance is improved because, you know, even if we'll shout at the employees, the performance will improve over the short period of time. The question is what happens after, and it's just a process.
Yeah, and I think it actually also has to do with a key question in gamification, or at least successful gamification, which is voluntary participation. How do you achieve your target audience to engage without any corporate push? How can you make that long term? And I wonder what your sort of approaches to this challenge have been.
Can I share a small slide, please?
Thank you. Yes.
Yeah. Can you see it? So I believe that, and we initiate the process with learning, but I believe, and actually the left side of the slide, learning is only 10% of the success of new process. It's only 10%, and usually we mistake, especially people from the HR, that say we teach, we learn, the employees know. But it's only 10%. So we work for the awareness about the new process. Let's say that we would like everybody will know what is the offering of the company. This is the awareness. The onboarding is people understand the offering. They know the 20 different solutions of our company. And then we must proceed to the doing. For example, people are meeting their customers and they're sharing with other people from other departments leads. Okay, and this is an ongoing process. And then later we can go to leadership. So part of the people will build solutions for other people to use. And then the ambassadors can bring other people and be the coach. So this is a holistic process that can go forever. Of course, the narratives will change and activities will change, but the process can remain the same because this is a circle that feeds itself and it can grow. It's not just doing or just learning, it's a holistic approach.
That's it.
I wanted to also move on that question about voluntarism. Yeah, do people play that voluntary? This is an argument that always comes up. Games are voluntary. You can only play when you're voluntarily participating. And I think that comes basically from game designers, from the critics, yeah, who say gamification, you don't understand it, you force people to play, therefore it's not good. This is basically this kind of killer argument to make gamification look bad. The thing is, coming from a large corporation, most of the applications that you have there are pretty boring to use. Yeah, they are not real. People are not really enjoying that. So I come from a completely different level. I come from a very low engagement level on business applications that are not fun. And by adding game design elements, I make them a little bit more engaging. It also means and again, I'm not building a game. It's not a game. It's a gamified design. And that is very different. If I'm not going to tell the people, the users who are going to use that, hey, you're using a gamified design and now I'm manipulating you. You're not selling an application for a mobile device, yeah, and pointing out right away that you're collecting our big data on them. No, you are having a Facebook application to connect to your people. So if I hadn't told you that LinkedIn or Amazon are gamified systems, and they engage you more, you wouldn't start saying, well, I'm not playing that voluntarily, I'm forced to use that. Yeah, so that's in my opinion a silly argument that comes from the critics part, and I think it's a dishonest argument a little bit, yeah, because we're not building games, we're building a gamified design.
Important point.
In actual fact, say again?
I was just wondering if Mark is convinced with this argument.
No, that's recently I attended a conference, and that's it was they were going to great lengths to educate the market here. It's not a game. Gamification's a lot more than that. So that was a key point, very important. Sorry, that was it.
Yeah.
I wanted to add something.
Yes, I actually had an example of one employee engagement campaign that was launched really in secret as opposed to with big bang launches. I mean, I've been involved in change management for years, and a lot of the time you had a big launch of a cultural change or a behavioral change campaign, and there was lots and lots of communication done. And with this one, we decided, look, let's add the game elements into the design, into all of the softwares that the employees were engaging with, from booking holidays to ordering new equipment to reporting issues, and see what happens. And actually, it actually naturally spread that one person used it and found, hey, have you seen the new way of doing this? And it actually rumored, which was quite a fun side effect, without having to make it a big, So in some sense, it was voluntary, although you had no choice but to use the company systems. On the other side, we didn't make a big deal out of the fact like, hey, we need to force you down a new way of working. But we just basically implemented little elements, and people played with them and enjoyed them, and then shared naturally in the company grapevine what was happening for them. So, I think that's another way of sort of saying, well, keep it on the low, I suppose the down low before you launch, and let the game elements do the talking, and get that as proof of concept.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, interesting point.
Thank you. Actually, we also come across oftentimes with clients who frequently ask us, they have the challenge that their organizations have a lot of large numbers of physical workers who don't use computers and mobile devices in most of their labor, and it's difficult to involve them in gamified activities or gamify their work processes. And I was wondering if you can provide any successful examples for this kind of scenario for such an employer where larger numbers of physical workers are involved.
With mobile?
In any way.
So I have I think a good example of a mobile solution that it's not just taking the gamification and put it in a mobile environment, which is smaller, and then it looks less good. It was about increasing the level of engagement between the people, the sales people, and their customers. We wanted to create a process that everybody understand that they need to meet their customers in order, to improve the relationship and to bring more purchase orders. It's not just about selling more. So we created a small feature of check-in. And everybody likes to check in, in the restaurant. So when you meet a customer, you check in, and it will go to the gamification. So the check-in, it's only click check-in, and you choose the customer, and then you receive, let's say, 10 points. Let's simplify it. You receive 10 points. And now the second phase is the second problem in sales, the quality of the CRM system or the quality of the funnel. And then if you will complete all the information regarding this meeting, you will receive 30 points or 40 points or 50 points, and if you add the action items, even more. And even if you will tell about it in Yammer or Jive, and you will say, I mention this customer about hashtag LTE program, okay, and then other people from maybe other regions that work with the same global customer will jump into the conversation. Okay, so you break also the global or the geography walls between countries, and you try to create collaboration between different salespeople with the same customer, and then as an organization you are stronger. So this is, I think, a great mobile example, instead of just doing the same in mobile.
And what about scenarios where maybe even mobile devices are not so frequently used? Do you have any examples for that? What do companies do? Do they implement screens or computers in the workplace, or how do they manage to engage people in gamified processes?
So I've written extensively about blue-collar workers. I'm coming from a blue-collar background, and we have the problem with gamification in blue-collar environments that we need to address them differently. There are certain things that are not applicable. So we always talk about the flow theory from Csikszentmihalyi, which says basically you're increasing your learning, you know more, and your skills and so on. But when you're doing some routine work, yeah, like standing on a conveyor belt, there's not much learning anymore involved. So you have to look very differently at it. And what you're trying, what blue-collar workers are focusing on, or what they're appreciating, is the dignity, that they have dignity at the workplace, that they have meaning, that their work is meaningful, that this makes sense for what they're doing, that they have certain autonomy in deciding of how to do certain process steps, yeah, and improve on that. And then the camaraderie, they are hanging out with their friends, they are very social as well, of course. So one example that I had when I was doing my PhD in the 90s, and I didn't know then back, of course, that this is gamification. I worked a lot with mechanics. We had to measure heating systems for calculating the exhaust emissions, for looking at the carbon dioxide emissions in Austria, for these bigger carbon dioxide reduction goals. And we had aimed at like 300 or 400 such systems to measure, but we were far below the goal to reach that. And I was the only one basically who had always the update on the data, because I was the guy who had typed it into the database. So one day, on Monday, was always the meeting where all the guys sitting together in the same meeting room, and the manager of that facility just handed out the work tasks and so on, and then they were gone for the week, driving around in Austria. So I started to just write a number on the whiteboard, and the number was like 68. And I explained, so this is the number of systems that we have. At the end of the year, we have to have 300, and that's what we have today. Yeah. And then the manager said, when we reach 100, we have beer and pretzels. Yeah. And this week, people came back with twice as many measurements than we had actually scheduled for them, because they talked then on the field with the people and talked about it. Said, oh yeah, my brother-in-law, he has also a system like that. Maybe you want to come over there and also measure it there. And so they ran and came back with that, yeah, because they were looking forward for the beer and pretzel and the camaraderie and the socializing and this kind of stuff. Of course, we had some side effects. They started then not to fill out all the forms anymore, so I had to find a way that they also bring this information with us, yeah. But you see, non-digital solution with blue-collar workers.
Absolutely. And have you come across any such examples?
I'm not at this point, no, not to that extent. I mean, I suppose the finance team example was a good one. People had to deliver expenses, and they had to get involved all the time. Now the finance team was fed up in having to ring up and chase people, so they created a very visual whiteboard. If your team had a full heart behind the team name, it basically meant everyone had delivered on time. If your team had half a heart or no heart, you were basically late. And that, in effect, caused people who were walking around the office to ring their counterparts in other offices to say, hey, we need to put our performance up in getting expenses in, because they're showing us up on a board. And the whiteboard picture was the one that traveled on the internal platform most often in one period. So it's not quite an answer to your question, but I thought it was a good one for offline gamification where it actually really worked.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Actually, most of you might have heard about Gartner and their predictions about gamification. One of them was the one in 2011 that said that by the year 2014, 70% of top 2,000 companies would be applying gamification in some form of their activity. And last year, they actually wrote that 80% of existing gamification solutions will fail this year. So what do you think about these statements? I mean, it might sound scary to Mark, for example, who is thinking of ways to use gamification and trying to bridge these challenges. What do you guys think about it? Mario, do you want to start?
Yeah, because I researched those numbers, yeah. Gartner, yeah. When you look at CRM, mobile, cloud, they have the same numbers for all of these things, yeah. They're not telling you how they get these numbers. So this is just fake stuff.
Mario, it's 50% of the time. Sorry, 50% of the time they are right.
50, yes. You know, the thing is here. Let's take a look at gamification failure. How do you define failure? Yeah, is it because you I mean, what does it mean? They say gamification sucks or CRM sucks, yeah, because they will fail this stuff. While in fact, when you apply it and do it wrong, yeah, then it's not the problem about of the gamification. It's your fucking problem. You did something wrong. If you choose, you know, to travel from Europe to the US and you choose a car. Of course, you won't be arriving there with the car. But it's not the failure of the car. It's your fucking problem. You know, you made a wrong decision here. So you have to fine-tune that, and you have to look at that and improve on that, and then see that. So these numbers of failure, I just don't get it. Yeah, it's Gartner. They make a lot of money with that. I'm very critical about that. Yeah, I've seen too much bullshit coming from that thing. Unfortunately. Everyone believes them because a lot of people are too lazy just to really look at that. But really, I searched for the past 15 years, CRM, cloud, mobile, they have the exact same numbers for everything. Yeah, and that's just not possible what they say here. I'm just getting upset about that.
You agree with Mario?
Actually, I have to say, I spoke at an e-learning event not so long ago, and when I mentioned, you know, the statistic from Gartner, and also mentioned that in Gartner's eyes, 80% of everything fails, everybody chuckled, and nobody took it very, very serious, because you can't. Saying that there's things you can do to get it right, and that's, you know, do your basic business objectives and project objectives right, make sure, you know, do the basics right of an implementation, and that will set you up for a good outcome. And sometimes it would tell you to walk away from a project. Like one mistake I did on one particular project was we engaged in actually setting up a gamified learning system when actually, when it was for an emergency service, when an emergency happened and gave us real life data, it was not the learning that people needed, but actually instant intuitive information as opposed to, you know, a game scenario to get them there. So it proved the whole concept was not necessarily quite right for the purpose of that we intended. So if we had longer in our lead time and more research done and based it on real data already, we would have been way further ahead and would not have made the same mistake. But it's a learning that you experience on a project.
Thank you. What about you, Gal? Do you want to add to that?
I must say that I read carefully this article a few times, and the hidden word or term is due to failure in gamification design or poor gamification design. And to this term, I agree. I don't, you know, talking about 80% or 50%, I think that first, 50% of all projects in the world are failing, at least for the first period of time. Then, you know, they succeed because you do a lesson learned and you improve the process. And after 1, 2, 3 years, when you gain knowledge, then you improve the success ratio. So I agree with Mario. It would be also with big data will fail in 50 or 60 or 70%, and IoT will fail, and everything new will fail in 60, 70, 80%. But I agree with one thing. I think that the simplicity, the over-simplicity of 80% of the gamification solution, especially in the field of sales, you know, top 10 or even top 10%. What, you know, you have 5,000 employees. You put a leaderboard of the top 10%, and you are the top 10%. You are number 500. You know, who cares? I don't want to be number 500 in any leaderboard, and I'm at the top 10%. And by the way, we found out that the top 10% will not improve their performance. Also, the bottom 10%. It's about the 80%. So in the design, you must put the employee as the hero of the game. It doesn't matter. I think that 70% of our solutions are without leaderboards in the platform. We try to put you in the driver's seat, or in the, you know, football manager seat, or in the golf player seat, or American Idol singer, and you're the hero of the gamification process. You will win or lose, and then you will understand why. You will improve your process, and then you will win or lose. I hope that you will win more than last week. Okay, so you will learn from trying, failing, or succeeding, but you're the hero. It's not about you versus Dana or other person. And with this, I agree with Gartner. The gamification design for 80% of the project today, I think it's relatively poor. And Mario, I hope that you see more projects than me.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mark. We are going to wrap this up soon, so I was wondering, any more important questions that you wanted to shoot at the other ones before we go?
Listening as I suppose a non-gamified person to everybody has been great. But I think Mario's point that it's gamification processes, and I think there's a challenge with clients. They think it's still the game, and I use an example on the few I've engaged with that gamification's been around and leaderboards have been around for a long time. As a headhunter, once upon a time in the 90s, how many calls I made was on a whiteboard, and you reminded me of that. How many CVs, my ratios are calculated on a whiteboard. So you have to take the clients through this experience. I think that the failure that we're talking about and the hype, a lot more conversations need to happen with clients. And I think that where you engage in the enterprise is key, and that's because you need the quick success to get results. I keep hearing learning and development, and just to the panel, I'd like to ask, if you're looking for a trend and a pattern when you engage with your enterprise clients, where typically has it opened up and had the most success? And that's the question I'd like to ask, whether it's the sales teams, because there's been leaderboards for years, sales teams in the competition, or in learning and development, which is relatively new because people are interacting with games a lot to learn now. Where is it in the enterprise?
Raising her hand, so maybe she can answer it.
Yeah, actually, ironically, everything that hasn't been learning related for me has come through the innovation team. So there's innovation managers at different levels in different organizations with their own budget pots, and they have been the instigators of gamification campaigns that were not learning related. I come from a learning and development background, so I already had a lot of connections in that. So for me, there was an extra connection there immediately. So that for me has been a great open door. and for them a trust factor because of my background. But if it wasn't learning related, it has come from innovation and definitely not HR, which is quite interesting.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Do you guys want to add to that?
I think that one of the important aspects in improving the success rate of gamification is that gamification is not in a void. It's not, it's getting, like Mario said, it's part of a process. You have a challenge, improving the engagement of employees, to the offering of the company, to report more things about their opportunities, etc. You have a challenge, and then you have the process, and the gamification should be an additional layer on an existing process. And sometimes when people try to be, if you're working with the strategic unit or the innovative unit, they try to gamify something, but they don't bind it to the process and also to the systems. And then the failure is guaranteed. You will have a failure. It should be led, like Anne said, not by HR, but by maybe HRBP, HR business partner in the sales department. Maybe they are working together with the HR, but the challenge should be led with the business process owner, and then to integrate it with the relevant systems, CRM, social networks, LMS, etc. And if in the next level you succeed to create a holistic approach, then the success ratio is raising, dramatically, exponentially.
Mario, does your experience support this?
I had troubles again with the internet connection, so sorry.
Say yes, Mario. You can say yes.
I say yes, yes. I agree with Gal.
You can see this is the book of Mario, my teacher.
Yeah, it was about Gartner.
No, this is the next book.
Yes, Gartner.
Yeah, it was about Gartner.
It's great to see that we're all in line and agree on things. Okay, I would like to thank you very much for all of your input today. It was very great to have this conversation with you. I hope our viewers and Mark
thank you so much.
a lot of useful things to hear and learn about, what they can apply in their business needs and so on. We are going to say goodbye until our next Gamification Roundtable session. We still appreciate any feedback or any suggestions for topics for the future. And I would like to thank everybody for participating and wish you a wonderful holiday season. Games for Christmas. Goodbye, everybody.
Yeah,
Thank
goodbye.
you. Bye.
Thank you, everyone.